Boys and girls, welcome back to art. Last week when we were working on this, hopefully you watched the video last week or the week before when we were before winter break on Laurel Birch and learned a little bit about her and what she did as an artist. And one of her most famous things is her cats that she does. Hers are a little bit different though. In her cats, she does a lot of color, a lot of patterns. Well, we're doing kind of a reverse thing with our Laurel Birch artwork here. You had done your silhouette of a cat, so we don't have patterns and colors in that. And then we created a moon and we glued that on top of our white paper. Now we're going to actually be doing our background here, and we're going to be using patterns and color in our background, kind of like a Laurel Birch artwork where she does it in her cats. We're going to actually do it in our background. And so what you're going to need is a pencil to get started, and then you'll go and use a black permanent marker. If you don't have a permanent marker, you can use a regular black marker too, like a Crayola. I'm using the permanent one, but because we're not painting, you don't really need to worry about it smearing or anything, because we're going to be using either crayons or colored pencils in our background to create patterns. So if you notice, I used a black marker to go along the circle around the moon, and that was really to kind of keep out the marker in our moon. So what I did was I actually follow along with the moon when I'm drawing on here, and I just trace the outside of it, trying not to go, and I can turn my paper with it, boys and girls. Don't try to turn your arm across it. Use that paper line that you have right here to block your marker from going into the moon. So I'm just creating that line, going and tracing my moon shape right now with my permanent black marker. And again, turn your paper, make it comfortable for you. Don't try to turn your arm across your artwork. Ooh, the shop went on her moon. Okay, so we have our moon traced, and now we're going to create these horizontal lines right here. Horizontal lines are the ones that are going across right here, side to side, left to right, horizontal lines. And so what we want is nice, thick, black lines. First, you're going to do yours in pencil and then follow it with a Sharpie. But I'm only going to do mine in Sharpie because I want you guys to be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating that horizontal line, trying to stay as straight as possible. And I actually trace it 3 or 4 times because I want nice, thick lines, not thin. So remember, I want thicker lines, not thin. So that's why a little bit here, because if you watch, when I first do the line, you can see the difference in the 2 lines here. And I like it to be a little bit thicker so that you can tell one space from the other. So I'm going to go ahead and create those nice thick lines. Again, I just trace it. Notice I'm not doing this. I go over it once, twice, 3 times. I'm not going back and forth. I just kind of go over the line. And I also want to try to bring it over here. If you're having a hard time creating that straight line, you can also use a piece of scrap paper, or if you have a ruler, you can use a ruler. I'm going to use like this back of a paper, scrap paper, to kind of make a straight line here. Just try to make it even with the other one if you can. I'm going to move this up and kind of create that straight line there over here where I have my horizontal lines. And again, I'm going to come and I'm going to trace over those and make these nice, thick black lines, because I want to be able to tell one line from the other. And that way, when I go to add my patterns in there, I've got these nice, thick black lines. So again, I'm going to come in and I'm going to actually just create my lines over here. And then, notice I have about 2 finger spaces between each line. I don't want so many that I can't fit anything in there. So again, I'm just using this paper, or use a ruler, whatever works for you, boys and girls. If you don't have, you can use a book, something. Just don't get your marker or pencil on your book or your ruler, whatever it is you're using, or don't use something important. I'm using just the paper. I'm going to go ahead and finish doing the lines. It does not have to be exact. One space could be bigger than the other. It doesn't really matter, boys and girls. It's not having to be exact and measuring out each one. Little variety makes it look a little neater. So I'm just going to keep creating these lines. And as you get up here past the moon, you're going to see that I'm going to have a straight line that goes straight across here, and it's not broken up with the moon. So now I've got my lines, but notice these lines are thicker down here. So now I've got to go back in, and again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go over each line to make those nice dark thick lines. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that, boys and girls. Now I've got all my horizontal lines in here, boys and girls, and I've broken it up into these nice little pieces so that I can create patterns. Now, what is a pattern? If you're looking at this, you might be able to figure out what a pattern is. We use patterns in so many things. We use patterns in our clothes. We use patterns when we're building things. We use patterns in math and science. So if you're looking here, you notice that I do blue, orange, blue, orange, blue, orange, and also diagonal line, diagonal line, diagonal line. A pattern is something that repeats. So in order for it to be a pattern, it has to repeat itself. So like here you can see I've done triangles on each one, and I put lines in them, and then the other side has lines, triangles that are upside down. So there's patterns in there. So I'm using just lines to break up my pieces and create a pattern. But notice when I do that, I have the same pattern here as I did here, because this is the same piece. It's just broken up right now, and this moon is in front of it. So we're seeing that, and this is just kind of broken up between it. So this piece should match, this one should match, and all the way up. So we're just going to use lines to create patterns. So you can see some of the ones that I have here. I do not want you to copy mine. You do your own patterns. I'm going to do some of my own here. And again, I like to make nice thick lines. So I'm going to do kind of a wavy line. But then I'm also going to continue that wavy line going from top to bottom right here. And I know I kind of did that one there, and I realized I did the same one a little bit wider, but I'm going to change it up some. I'm going to add some horizontal lines in here to kind of create a pattern inside that as well. And notice I did the same on this side, and I'm going to do it on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and create that pattern as well on the same, or on this other side. And I'm going to be neat with it. I would just use the black Sharpie to create your patterns instead of trying to draw them with pencil and go over them. Just use the Sharpie to create your patterns. So now I'm just going to add some diagonal lines. Now, diagonal lines are those lines that are leaning over like this. They look like they're going to fall over. So I'm going to create some diagonal lines. And I'm going to create that same pattern on this side so that it matches. And I'm going to create a pattern of, let's see, I'm just going to do circles or ovals. We'll say they're ovals, kind of like a donut in a way. We'll create that donut shape, but I'm going to create kind of one hanging off the side there, and then a donut shape over here. And then I'm going to create other patterns going up. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back with you so you can see what I've done. Boys and girls, so you can see now that I have finished making patterns using only the black Sharpie on here. I'm not going to color this week. Next week we'll talk about coloring and adding patterns again. But for this week, this is enough because this will take you quite a bit of time. So get your patterns done in your nice horizontal rows, and I will see you again next week, boys and girls. Bye.